Hey, welcome in everyone to a special edition of Florida State Seminoles Live.
I mean,
And special edition because we missed yesterday. Blame me. So really a special dish? Maybe not. But your normal, regular, outstanding edition of FSU Seminoles Live. Of course, we got Jason Parker, NBC6, waiting on big game. James Coleman, he's waiting in the wings, hopefully.
I'm not going to lie to you, Mark. This is special for several reasons. Number one,
Okay.
it's a sunshine edition. You're outside in the beautiful sunshine of Ohio. I got the sunshine here in Fort Lauderdale. It hasn't started raining yet. Um, Also, more importantly, you're cutting into my nap. I'm not going to lie. That's how important you fans need to realize that Mark Rogers, the voice of college football, is. When Mark Rogers says, "I need you," I'm more important than your nap. You don't take a nap. That's pretty much where we're at right now.
So you work early hours.
I
We
do.
know this. Okay, so you've got an early shift there with NBC6. So you're not a guy that gets to bed extremely early, gets all of his sleep in, then goes to work. So it sounds like you divide it up.
I don't sleep, pretty much.
Oh,
Essentially, I don't sleep. I don't get a lot of sleep, but I take that nap. I've learned to embrace that nap time that we did as children and growing up in school, and then as you get older, you start to embrace that nap again. The nap world is a good world. I'm not gonna lie.
it is.
I,
It
I'm an
is.
old, I'm an old man, people. I'm an old man.
My naps aren't planned. I'm not saying I don't take any naps, but they're not planned. They're not planned naps.
Usually 3:15. Usually 3:15 to 4 is my nap time, and then 4 is
Uh-oh.
my workout time after that. So
Okay. So are we just pushing the entire schedule back or are we skipping the nap?
haven't decided today.
Okay.
Haven't decided. We will let you know. I will let you know next week. Next Wednesday at 6 p.m. I'll let you know what I did.
So, Jason, as we both know, the coaches' preseason poll came out a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I scoured it from my many different channels for different angles. And then I went to the others receiving votes. And Florida State won right there at the end, number 55 in the country.
I'm not going to lie to you. It's a little bit interesting. I would love for whoever voted. I mean, I would like to assume that it's Mike Norvell, obviously entering his third season, but we don't know. I would hope maybe somebody else respects us, but at this point, would you call us one of the top 25 teams in the country? I mean, after last season, I would not. But hey, you know what? We got to vote. We got to vote. Florida got votes. UCF got votes. Miami is number 17. They'll drop out after they lose to Texas A&M. I mean, so hey, we got to vote. It's the first step towards the process of the Duke's Mayo Bowl and an 8-4 season. That's all I'm going to say.
So, yeah, Florida State is technically number 55 in the country.
I mean, if you want to pull up the poll, I mean, it's an interesting group. I'm not shocked by any of them. Alabama obviously is the number one ranked team in the country. Ohio State 2, Georgia 3. I will admit a little bit. Clemson is a little surprising at 4. I think that's not a slap in the face to Clemson, but I think after last season, I would not say Clemson right now is one of the top 4 teams in the country. But looking at that right now, that's the highest team that Florida State has on their schedule. Notre Dame coming in at 5. Michigan, I think Michigan's going to fall off a little bit, but they come in at 6. Utah at 8. Florida has to host Utah to start off their season in Gainesville on September 3rd. NC State at 13. That's a little interesting for me. I would have thought they may have started a little higher. I think Miami's overrated at 17. I'm not just saying that to hate on Miami a little bit, but I think Miami at 17. Pitt, I don't think Pitt wins the Coastal Division this year, so I think they're going to drop down a little bit. It's interesting, and I'm one of those who doesn't think you should have a poll until the first week of October. Let teams play out because look at that list. I think you're going to see at least by the first week of October, you're going to see at least 7 of those teams not ranked. That's not my hot take yet, but I think you will see 7 of those teams fall out of the top 25.
Well, had that poll been issued a couple days later, I'm guessing Wake Forest would have been nowhere to be found.
I
Considering
mean,
the recent news.
yeah, I mean, we obviously we wish the best to Sam Hartman, their quarterback, who will miss what they're saying could be a significant amount of time with a non-football injury. Whatever it is, we wish him the best. We wish him the best of luck. Get yourself right, get your mind right, and whatnot. As you zoom in, yeah, see, we're tied with Louisville.
Yay!
Congratulations.
And Texas San Antonio.
We're more focused on Louisville. I think the San Antonio. I think they're the Roadrunners. Is that what they are?
They are.
They are. So I believe we'll worry about them later. But no, but back to Wake Forest. I think Sam Hartman. We wish him the best. Deal with whatever you have to deal with. Obviously, on the football field, it does help Florida State out that they will not have to face arguably one of the better quarterbacks in the ACC at this point. Things could change. Who knows? But the most important thing is off the field. Get your mind right. Get yourself right. Whatever you need to take care of, get yourself right, Sam.
Big game James Coleman has been waiting patiently. Very classy move on his part. He enters, just waits for the conversation to rest, and here he is.
He's also not driving. He safely has the phone down so that he can drive safe. Good job, James.
Yes, I'm trying to. I have my son here. I'm trying to practice good habits so that he can emulate those things. Got a lot of bad habits he can emulate, but right now we're trying to make sure only the good stuff he gets to see.
Well, you're not raising him a Jaguars fan, so that's a bad habit he won't have to deal with. First of all, that's a positive.
Are you a Jaguars fan? You like the Jags? He says kinda. You're Patriots though, right?
All right.
Not anymore. He likes Tom Brady, so wherever Tom Brady is.
Okay. All right. Because he would have had a real issue in the 2017 AFC Championship game.
Absolutely.
When the Jags and the Patriots met, but I guess that was before his time.
More importantly, James, our alma mater is over in the 904 right now getting work done in Jacksonville. You posted a couple things on Twitter showing that you were out there seeing them. What have you seen so far from Florida State since they've been in the 904?
Well, I'm going to break protocol and do what media is doing now since we got this nice fancy letter as former players that we were not to talk about what we saw at practice, and then I go on Twitter and I see nothing but play-by-play action by our media beat. And I thought to myself, who better to talk about stuff than a guy who's actually, who was an X and an O, as opposed to guys who just watch it. But what you're seeing right now, I'll say this: if I have to compare Jacksonville, right? So this time last year, my namesake, who's in the car with me, made one of the most telling comparison in FSU beat history. He asked me, Dad, are we going to go see a college team or we're going to go see a high school team? And I was just he's a kid who's been around football on every level. He's been in high school, college, and pro based upon my profession. Well, I've noticed it in the spring, and I noticed it again when I was at practice, that I'm no longer one of the largest individuals on the field. These guys are pretty darn big, and they're pretty explosive. And I have to, when I went to the practices in Jacksonville, I made a statement. I was like, I'm not sure if Jermaine Johnson is that good or if we're that bad. And it turned out that a little bit of both were true. But now I'm looking at Jared Verse, and I'm seeing the offensive line be exponentially better. And Jared Verse is having an impact on me with my eyes, similar to what Jermaine Johnson had. And then, you see but again, you see them getting steps. It's still very much so not complete. All I can say is that they are a better team than they were last year, which could be spooky. It could give you hope. Because the reality is, last year's team, though you are what your record states, they very well should have been a 7-5 team as opposed to a 5-7 ball club. So if this team is better, 8 wins isn't out of the question. And I'm still of the old school Florida State mentality. I just can't wake up afraid of Wake Forest, even before Sam Hartman went down. I just can't wake up. I played against NC State with Phillip Rivers, and we still didn't fear these guys. So while these teams are much improved, and we aren't the dynasty era Bowden teams, there's only one true ass whipping that Florida State took last year, and that was the Wake Forest. Everything else, they were in the game up until the latter parts of it. So if this team is better, it could. I'm not telling. I had a friend who was really trolling, who said Big Game says we're going 11-1, so we're going 11-1. That's not the case. But I do believe that this is an 8 or 9 win team, and with that being said, they can actually do some stuff, and that's really where, not the standard per se, that's just really where the expectations should lie. And basically, as we do with the Jazz, playing meaningful games in November, like feeling like you actually have a chance to go to a bowl game and not lose hope. But it's all about where Jordan Travis's legs and arm takes us. He has taken another step as a passer, but he's still very athletic. And what comes with having an athletic quarterback is sometimes they may rely on their legs a little bit too much. But he is better than he was at this point last year, with better receivers.
Now, you mentioned the offensive line off the top. Obviously, the big news that came out is Caden Lyles, the transfer from Wisconsin. He's going to miss the season with an injury. There's no word on whether he will come back next season and try to play in 2023. What does that injury – and Logan talked a little bit about him last week and whatnot, and kind of not being, I guess disappointed would be the right word with him. But what does that mean for the offense? So two-part question. What does that mean for the offensive line? And then also Julian Armella. He's a true freshman from down here, Fort Lauderdale, from St. Thomas Aquinas, legacy player for Florida State. He's been taking some reps with the offensive line. Is it conceivable that we could see Julian Armella at some point early on before his redshirt kicks in, or is that just, hey, let's see how you do right now, and then you're going to redshirt this season?
I think what a lot of people don't understand about fall camp and the beauty of having depth is you can get guys a lot of reps, and you don't have to, you don't need to see what Dylan Gibbons does that often. You've seen him in the full season. You don't need to see. You just really need to get guys in football shape and have them prepared for the season. But Armella is getting a lot of live reps, and I don't want to say the coaches are raving about him, and they're doing a good job. And he is, from what I've seen, I got a chance to witness the scrimmage on Saturday. I haven't spoken about it, but I got a chance to witness it, and I saw some stuff today. He does do some good things, but he's still a freshman. His upper body hasn't matured yet, but he's got a really good lower half. He's got some good skill set and some talent. He also gets put on his ass like a freshman should every now and then, going up against some guys who are probably going to get drafted. You take some L's. So I don't want us to take too much into the compliments of what he's getting done. Now, on the the center side, you've got guys like Schrader, you got guys like Sapp, you got guys who have been getting some reps at center, so you're going to see them do some things, but that's the beauty of having, I believe, 19 scholarship offensive linemen. You got a chance to really put in a bunch of different combos, and you're going to have some guys who are going to have to be swing players, guard center combos or guard left or guard tackle combos, to where you can fit in and fill in the pieces. This is a violent game played by slightly deranged individuals. So you're running full speed into other people. So you need as many big bodies as you can. And I will say, with the amount of guys they've held out for various reasons or for injuries, they've still been competent against a D-line that is actually really freaking good. That's the sign, the telltale sign, is that I've seen them not fail, but I've seen them not have as much success with the D-line, against the D-line, but I've also seen them make really, really big plays against the same D-line with everything going on. So, having the piecemeal stuff. So I think depth is really one of the strong suits of what Florida State's had, and that's a testament to Alex Atkins and what he's done on the recruiting side, man. We can't lose him in it. He needs to be for Florida State to get back. He's got to be there for 5 years. We got to have consistency in that position.
So my question to you through the first 2 weeks, I asked Logan this question last week. I'm going to ask you because you guys have seen them in person. I still haven't had a chance to see them yet. I won't see them until the LSU game. What has been what would you say has been made you pleasantly surprised, or what area are you most happy with after seeing them, and what area do you still think needs the most improvement before we play Duquesne on August 27th? Yes, I actually said that sentence about what needs improvement before we play Duquesne.
I'm going to say it's the same position group. The wide receiver, I'm pleasantly surprised with the wide receiver group and the guys that we've got in the transfer portal. We got they recruited body types with absolutely no stats. And so and this is where people have to realize there's a difference between hating and critiquing. You're supposed to. If I recruit a guy who had 9 catches at the last school that he was at, why should I have high expectations for him? Like, it's not like the guy from Pitt, the Biletnikoff winner. I should have high expectations. But when I'm looking at what Jordan Wilson's able to do with his body and his frame, and I think about the interception that Jordan Travis threw against North Carolina State, against Notre Dame, where the backside safety comes and picks it off. It's a terrible play. I hate it. But now that you've got a 6'7" wide receiver, you can make that rollout and throw it to the moon, and that DB is not getting the interception. He is a jump ball terrorist. Like, it's going to be tough for guys to be able to get what they need to get from him. You see guys like Micah Pittman. Deuce Spann has the ability, when it's all said and done, to be one of the most talked about wide receivers that we've had at Florida State in quite some time. You don't get that big, tall, and fast and not be able to make an impact. That being said, and there's other ones that I could bring up, but just for the sake of time. That being said, I go out and I watch, and this could just be the beauty of it, because you have depth there. I'm just looking for a number one wide receiver. So I don't see a guy yet that has just emerged as, okay, that's that guy. So what does that mean, Judge? 2002, my freshman year at Florida State, 20 years ago. Anquan Bolden was clearly that guy. Clearly. Every day at practice, if he wanted to beat Brian McFadden, Stanford Samuel, Rufus Brown, a bunch of other really good corners, he was whipping their behind. And Crefazzo Thorpe the next year. It's just got things like that. I haven't seen that yet in what I've seen. Maybe tomorrow I'll see more. But I think we're getting better, though.
I do also want to break a little bit of news. Florida State getting another commitment, a 3-star recruit, defensive tackle Tavon Gadsden, a 3-star defensive tackle from the state of Georgia, 6'4", 280. Ranked as the 79th defensive lineman in the class of 2023. So there you go. Breaking news here. I'm playing the role of Logan, except not drunk. So that's the Florida State's second defensive tackle in the class, 13th overall recruit. So there you go, Mark. Beating you to the punch there on that one. Mark's muted.
Good for that young man.
Mark, you're muted. Mark, you're muted.
James, I've got 2 questions for you. One, not Florida State related, but since you did play the game at that level, I'm curious. So the first one is Florida State related to an extent. AP coaches poll came out, or the coaches poll came out this week. Did you guys look at that, care about that, think about, give it any value at all when the polls came out, whether that was before the season or during the season?
Before the season, yeah, because we grew up in an era where you picked up the Street and Smith magazine, ESPN the magazine, all those different things. And it was more for bragging rights. It was cool. Like, you wanted the respect of the nation. And, like, one poll we were ranked kind of low. And then I really don't. But now, as I got mature, we really don't care about polls. There's a slant. There's always something that goes with it. But yeah, you kind of, like, when you're good, you expect to be in the top 10 year in and year out.
Next question deals with the Wake Forest situation. So you can't relate to this in regards to, you played on a team with talent on every positional unit, NFL guys, so you didn't play in this type of situation. But I can only liken, even though there are better quarterbacks at Alabama, Ohio State, we're still talking about one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the country, maybe out for the season at Wake Forest. But in addition to that, I can only think of maybe Virginia with Brennan Armstrong losing a more valuable player. Like, Wake Forest was horrible on defense last year. They won 11 games, and they had a bad defense. They only run the ball okay. Like, they were all passing offense. That was the entire MO of that team. And they lose a guy who accounted for 50 touchdowns last year. Can you put yourself in a position of not just losing a quarterback on a really good team, losing a quarterback where the entire success of the team is predicated on throwing the ball downfield?
Well, I know I can relate to that very well. My senior year, we lost a quarterback to a non-football related injury. We lost Wyatt Sexton. Wyatt Sexton completely changed the trajectory of what our offense was going to be. We had to play Drew Weatherford, and Drew while very good and talented, was a redshirt freshman. He didn't have command of the offense, and he had to learn on the fly. Now we lost Wyatt in like a couple weeks before camp, so we had a little bit of time to adjust. But it's still a thing that kind of tweaked where we were trying to go with our offense. And I think we probably would have won. I believe we went 8-5 that season. We still won the ACC, but I think we're 2 games better that year if we playing with Wyatt. If we're playing with Wyatt, if I'm being completely transparent. But this right here, they don't even have an uber talented backup like we have. Again, with Drew Weatherford and Xavier Lee. It's tough for schools like Wake Forest because this is what you build up for you. Most of their kids redshirt when they come in, and every 3 to 4 years they have a really, really good run of football. And now that this guy is done, it's just kind of like, how can you project them to be as talented as they were with them? Even if he comes back, let's say somehow, not miraculously, and I hope he recovers well, but let's say he comes back for the Florida State game October 1st, if I remember correctly. He's not going to be in game shape, and that's a hell of a way to get reintroduced to your college football season.
My question would be to you, and I don't feel comfortable talking about football, knowing and there's been the stories that's talked about his life, losing his brother and whatnot. So I guess my question to you would be, and I want to word this the proper way. If you are Sam Hartman at this rate, do you even try to come back this season? And obviously, Wake Forest hasn't released what it is that he's going through and whatnot. And like I said, we all hope and pray the best for him. But do you just sit out this entire season and not even try to come back at this point if you're Sam Hartman?
I mean, if it's a mental health issue, I think he needs to sit out. I think a lot of people don't take mental health serious enough. And I think bigger than that, there needs to be more done to help guys become more resilient. There's resiliency training, stuff like that, because this is a tough sport. Social media has made it harder. But you go into venues that are away venues where people are calling you everything outside of your Christian name, trying to break your concentration. You've got your family that's, they get attacked. You've got a lot of different stuff, and the world is a mean place. And if you didn't grow, not saying if you're having a hard time dealing with it, sometimes taking a break is what you need. The hardest part though is this is a physical game. It's physical and mental that's married together to be able to come out and create a beautiful product or beautiful art, as I like to call it. If your mental isn't there, you got to take a step back. But if you take a step back, your physical's not going to be there. So something's going to hurt, and you actually could hurt the team by trying to rush it back because you're doing something for your teammates. Now, I'm all about being selfless, but at a certain point, your health is the most important thing, and it's actually not selfless like you think it is. It's selfish for you to try to force yourself back for what you think your teammates are missing. You have to be the best version of you, and that's what I'm hoping for Sam and his family. Get them right, take your time, and that's why they have med reds. Take your medical red shirt, do something to help, and I hope if he sits out this season, the NCAA allows him to be able to do that, and I hope nobody holds any of this against him because he's a hell of a ball player. And as I saw one fan, one of them blue check people thinks that FSU fans were rooting for him to not come back. Nah, we're like Spartans, man. I want you at your best when I beat you up. I don't want to whoop your tail and you say you had a cold. No, I want you 100% there. So when I take your will from you, you have no excuses. It's more fun that way. And I think that's what, if we beat Wake Forest, I want to beat Wake Forest with a Sam Hartman, who's a hell of a tremendous competitor. I don't want to beat them weak. And I hope the best for him and his family. And, if I prayed, I would tell him that he's in my prayers, but he's in my thoughts.
Yeah, and I mean, we're all at this point now, and I think it's a good thing that we are being able to be open and transparent talking about mental health. And, I've been very open about saying that seeing a psychologist is the one thing that kept me from killing myself during my divorce and going through, my battle with alcoholism and stuff like that. It's a very important thing. And you're talking about you're the quarterback for a Power Five major program. So I think that's my thing. And I hope that there are not FSU fans, and I know there's going to be some idiots out there who are going to use this as a good thing. Now it's easier road for us. No, pray for him if you pray. Think about him if you don't. But just at this point, just let him do his thing, whatever it is.
Let's hit kind of a double-sided question from Gary Lewis, and then we want to give the floor to James to make an announcement and catch us up on some of his initiatives here. Gary Lewis, I believe, is talking about Cam McDonald here at the tight end position, and his number of touches that could be in store for him in 2022, and also his willingness to be a productive run blocker. So, if you guys have any thoughts about Cam McDonald's contribution to the offense and how much he's needed?
Judging by what James said about the wide receiver and there not being a bona fide, I would say, number one big target, I would say yes, you'll probably see Cam McDonald getting more touches. I mean, when he got the ball, he was a good tight end for us if he is healthy. If he's healthy enough right now, like we talked about, the Duquesne game is not going to be the barometer of the season, but if he's, you'll probably see him more for that LSU game. I think that's going to be the first time we're going to see more of him. So, yeah, I would probably be willing to bet you're going to see more touches from him at this rate.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to incorporate him and just what we would consider the traditional checkdowns, your backs and your tight ends in general. I do think once these guys get going, you're going to have to go single coverage on some of these guys. Or better yet, you're going to have to go zone. And if that happens, that's when you got a good tight end like Cam McDonald, can find space, sit in there, and I think he can do work. And I think with how I believe this run game is going to be, what I used to do, basically we call it a slam route or a slam release, where you actually on the play action, you block down on the defensive end, sell it, and then boom, you're in the flat. You're the first read. Like, that's going to be effective because guys like Trey Benson, Trayshawn Ward, and even the former walk-on C.J. Campbell are really, really good running backs. Rodney Hill, too, I don't want to leave him out because he's damn good as well. But I think that's how you're going to get. And when people say he's not a lineman. Like, our offense can't force him to be what he's not. We don't have nobody's recruiting devastating blockers at tight end except for Georgia. Now, Georgia got all of them. Like, all them boys are some bad boys. But most of us, we need a willing blocker. Are you willing to be able to get in the way and do what you got to do to be able to make it happen? I think he is.
James, at this stage in camp, so let's see, 2 weeks from Saturday, Florida State's on the field. At this stage in camp, you're looking at 17, 18 days until you've got to hit somebody else. What are you expecting when you were on the field to see out of your team that you didn't see maybe 2 weeks ago?
I'm expecting guys that I didn't think about to kind of show up, or guys that I wasn't expecting to kind of show up and be able to create depth. Like your freshman, like, okay, man, this freshman stands out. I vividly remember Anton Smith standing out when I was a senior and being like, yo, this freshman actually has some skills that was unexpected. Looking at body types, looking at some of these guys, looking at wide receivers, who are going to be the wide receivers that everybody's not talking about that are going to stand out, like you do Span. Portier, again, is a guy that nobody's really been talking about that's doing very well. At linebacker, I think it's Omar Graham is kind of standing out. I'm excited to see him get some reps. And even the DJ Lundy. DJ Lundy's kind of been forgotten about a little bit. He's more of a downhill type of linebacker. But now if he had to start, I'd be a little more afraid. But I'm excited to see him get reps. But and on top of that, my key guys being my key guys. Like, I don't need Kalen DeLoach to take a step back. I need to make sure every time Kalen's in, Kalen's solid and still progressing. So that's kind of what you need to see at this point in camp. The guys you're going to rely on heavily doing what they need to do, and maybe more, and then maybe somebody else that you weren't expecting to kind of surface and show more. Maybe I would like Wyatt Rector to maybe show up a little bit more as a backup tight end, because I think he's got a really, really high ceiling, and really just who are the guys that are commanding. But perfect example, I guess, to use this stuff, like a Joshua Farmer. Joshua Farmer and Malcolm Ray. Every time I've seen them, I'm like, yo, like I saw some significant time with Fabian Lovett and Robert Cooper weren't practicing, and I didn't even notice that they weren't there. And that's not a bad thing on them. That just means the young guys were coming in and doing what they needed to do.
Meek Hunapi 1851 is James' NIL initiative. And James, you got a big announcement today.
Let's pronounce it right.
Yeah.
I did my best. James didn't correct me. Did I really screw that up? I got to hear James say it one more time here.
It's Miko Nopi. 1851. You know what? You tried, Mark. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this. At least you tried and have actually done something. Before I get into this announcement, I'm going to state this, and people can say whatever they want to say about me, because our media at FSU has really dropped the ball on a lot of stuff. And I get it. I own Fifth Quarter. And anytime you talk about me, it's technically talking about Fifth Quarter. But these are truly FSU initiatives that are big for everybody. And the fact that you've talked about Rising Spear and the now defunct A50 Warpath, and people have talked about this new one that's coming on, it's just stupid. It's not right. And, we're doing some good things. There's no reason to beef between collectives, but at the same time, we need to let the people know that Florida State is not behind in name, image, and likeness. We're in the forefront. We are competing. It's just things are being done in a manner in which is good. And I've talked to a lot of recruits about their excitement about FSU. And I promise you, they just want to see us put a competent product on the field. You put a competent product on the field with our coaches that are recruiting well, and with these NIL deals that Rising Spear and us, as well as that Mika Nopi 1851 are doing, is going to be home runs. So what we have is we got a partnership right now with Fabletics, Uber, ZipRecruiter, and I'm forgetting the other one because I'm on my phone. I'm driving, so I can't look at my phone right now. But they're setting aside a certain amount of resources for us, as well as a few other collectives that we've kind of partnered up with. And really, it's whoever is signed up for Mika Nopi 1851 through our Base Path app, you are eligible to receive not just a one-time payment, a consistent monthly payment that you'll get for name, image, and likeness. It doesn't matter if you're the starting wide receiver, the starting quarterback. It doesn't matter if you're the backup catcher on the baseball team. The only thing you need to do is be a student athlete at Florida State and basically have your fsu.edu email. You register through us. We make sure you're a Mika Nopi athlete. Make sure we can represent you. These representation agreements that we sign are not exclusive. You could go. We actually encourage people to be with Rising Spear. Encourage guys to have an agent. We're just here to really build and develop. That's what makes us different. But this deal right here, it's sustainable, it's growable, and it's going to put you with some of the biggest brands in the nation. And each week, we're going to hope, not each, I say each week, don't hold me to that. We're hoping to make some more announcements moving forward where they're going to put these pools of money in here. I talked to a couple of the guys who are already excited. I said, hey, we're not telling you to just, like other people, we're not telling you to just sign up and pray something's going to happen. I'm telling you right now, get your behind in here, sign up so we can get you a check. And it's not is it life-changing money right now? No. But this is good money that can help pay a bill. And for some, it may be equivalent to what a scholarship check is. So that's kind of where it comes down to. And what I've done with my research is basically talking to the people, talking to the student athletes in the manner in which I can only do it. Everybody can tell you how to do it, but they never lived it. I was a student athlete with the kid, so I know how short that scholarship check is. But a lot of these guys are really only in it to make a couple $1,000s. They want to focus on playing ball. So what we have with this deal through Micanopy 1851 is basically we got a way for you to get a name, image, and likeness deal and be able to focus on ball. And I just want to give kudos to my business partner and co-founder, Mike Underwood, for really going out here, continue to beat the pavement, negotiating, and getting and landing this landmark deal, which is it's a big deal for us being a smaller collective. It's well over 6 figures, and could potentially get into the 7 if we continue to execute and do this thing the right way. But it's I love it because we're now able to give young men and women. I want to stress this is not for just football players. Every FSU athlete, track and field, softball, baseball. If we have a tetherball team, come on. I don't know what all sports we got, but I do know that you can get some of this money, and that's always been our focus: education and reaching out and developing every student athlete so that they can be the future Mikos. And if you don't know what a Mikos is, a Miko is our big-time boosters, our $1 million boosters at Florida State. What better way to continue to show the growth of Florida State University by taking the people who we all know and love, the athlete, and creating the future millionaires to be able to build in. That's your name, image, and likeness. Because as I've always stressed, in the University of Florida, University of Miami, everybody else has stolen my phrase, and that's on me for not copywriting it. It's all about taking your 4 and converting it into your next 40. That's basically me. I'm a walking NIL deal, and all I'm trying to do is show these young men and women how to do this and how to go get the bag without losing respect and dignity.
I thought you were talking about the other phrase for a moment that you put in the hats, but all right.
Oh, definitely MFTK all day.
Absolutely. Can the general public help out by donating to Micanopy 1851 or not, or how?
Yes, and this is how we structure we're not a subscription-based business, right? So, but what we do take donations for our mentor series and our development. So when we have guys come in to talk about athletes, about life as an athlete, and it's really a round table where we talk about our accounting. It takes money and resources to get these experts up. And we also have to have a facility. We have to have other things that we do. So any donations that people give go to the athlete, not directly, but in terms of making sure we can have proper things for them to be able to learn adequately. That's one thing. Number 2, we have a Micanopy 1851 scholarship that you could donate to, which actually we go and we partnered with the Seminole tribe of Florida, and we actually will give $1,851 to an Indian student, a Seminole Indian student that attends Florida State. So they'll get a scholarship on behalf of Micanopy 1851 through the fans. So we're raising funds for that. That's a way to donate. And I've put this out here because there's so much BS that gets put out about name, image, and likeness. So if you're not sure where the funds are going, right? Rising Spear is 100% donation based. 100% goes to the athletes. Micanopy's 100% goes to the athletes. I'm not 100% sure about this new one that's coming up, so I'm not going to speak on them and not know. But if you're not sure and you're like, man, I think somebody's taking money, no problem. Pool your resources with some other fans if you want to. You can come to me, and we will give the specific athlete that you want that name, image, and likeness deal. And we'll make sure there's a clear ask and a clear gift. Even if it's a FaceTime or coming in and cutting some cake at your kid's birthday party, we'll find something to where you can do to make sure that athlete agrees upon and that makes you satisfied. And now you know that Kalen DeLoach got $1,000 from you and your friends, and it didn't go to anybody else. The only thing that may happen is if you go through BasePath and you use your credit card, there's credit card processing fees. Take that up with Visa. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I hate credit card processing fees as a business owner. I can promise you that. But those are the things that we can do and that we're willing to do. I just don't want people just running around ignorant about what name, image, and likeness is. And that's really what we're trying to do with Micanopy 1851. And we're not going to just be making a bunch of braggadocious announcements. I ain't Ruiz. If I was a fake billionaire, I probably would be Ruiz. But it doesn't benefit me to do that. I'm going to talk about something when we have it. And even him, he's retracted some of the deals that he's given to people because it's all about ROI. This is business. Mark, you got one of the most popular one of the most popular YouTube college sports series around, and you still have issues getting some advertising dollars, and people gonna see it. Why the heck do y'all think people are just so friendly to athletes these days? They ain't never been that friendly. It's all business, and that's what we're teaching these athletes.
James, we need Ruiz to help Miami buy their way into the Big Ten so that we can buy our way into the Big Ten. So let's not totally bash them too much. We need the check to clear to get them to the Big Ten, join us in the Big Ten, and then we can bash them some more, right?
Gotcha.
Okay, please.
Especially with this new TV deal that's brewing.
Woo! Which sources have told me it looked like it was going straight to the eye, but they could be coming to the Peacock. Stay tuned in the coming weeks. That's all I'm going to tell you. Inside sources have told me.
Who are you talking about? They
Big Ten, the Big Ten.
Yes,
the Big Ten.
Yes, that's out there.
But it's going to be signed in the next couple of weeks. So
okay, yes, CBS, NBC, Fox, absolutely.
Yes. So I've heard this one. Let's do recruiting. Let's get to the recruiting. We gotta get this going, man.
So we'll talk about a target here that's a huge 5-star. But first, the commit that came in this week, 15th rated running back in the country, Jason.
Yeah, Sam Singleton. He's from up in your way, up in the 904 area. I believe Fleming Island, correct? If I'm correct. Yeah. 4-star, number 15 running back, number 58 in the state of Florida. You see all the stats right there. What are we going to see in Samuel Singleton when he comes to Tallahassee?
What you got is a very explosive athlete. He's a track guy. He's a 10.6, 10.5 runner in the 100 meters. But he's also stocky. He's close to 200 pounds. So I've got a chance to coach against Fleming Island with what I do on the side with my son's godfather's team. And he's always got hamstring issues. But when you're 200 pounds and you're running that fast, that's why you have hamstring issues. I think him being able to come in and focus on just playing football, after this senior season, I think will take him to the next level. Don't be shocked, though, if we do a double 904 dip. If the kid from Middleburg, who has right now, he's got a little bit of grade issues, but if we get him, if his grades kind of come up and he's on par to be especially an early enrollee, we may take 2 4-star running backs from out of the 904 area. Both have very good traits. Both are 2 different types of back, run very hard, are very explosive. You get them in open space, and it's lights out. So I'm actually excited about Sam Singleton. Except for when we have to play him, I think week 8. That's the only time I won't be excited to see him, because 2 things are going to happen. We're either going to bang him up because we got to win a game, or he's going to torch us. Either way, I'll be satisfied.
Just remember, MFTK, you're a Florida State Seminole. Come on, man.
That part. I'd be remiss if we didn't try to whoop that ass. My bad, Mark. I'm sorry about the curse.
No, you're good. James.
I mean, who would curse on this show?
That's a little misnomer about the show here. Just don't want the expletives to be streaming. I don't mind them in isolation. No big deal.
No home training, man. Come on.
I throw those out myself, believe it or not. You guys just don't catch them. All right. Then, man, you talk about, I've not seen any huddle tape or anything on Hakeem Williams, but I'm looking at second-rated wide receiver in the country, and these aren't the kind of student athletes that Mike Norvell has been able to bring in here in the first few recruiting cycles.
Hakeem Williams, he's from down here. He's from Fort Lauderdale Strahan High School. He's a 5-star. We're talking 6'4", 205. I've seen him play in person. And James talked a little about the wide receiver position, the needs of the wide receiver position. He is all – if Florida State can get him, this is a major, major get. And obviously he's narrowed down his final 6. He's going to announce on September 23rd. Strahan's on a bye week that weekend, so he will announce at his school. NBC6 will be there for that. Well, I will be there for that one. But he's narrowed down. It's Florida State, Miami, Pitt, Alabama, Texas A&M, and I believe Georgia is the 6th school there listed. He is a Miami guy. He's a South Florida guy, so that's why Miami seems to think they're in the lead. Originally, Miami was in the lead according to 24/7. He took the trip to Tallahassee, raved about Florida State. Obviously, you mentioned Omar Graham, also a Strahan product. That's one of his best friends. I think Florida State is in play seriously for Hakeem Williams. And I think this is why we talked about how important that LSU game is, how important that Louisville game is. Florida State will have 3 games in by the time Hakeem Williams announces his verbal commitment. If Florida State is at least 2-1, maybe 3-0 by that point, I think there's a very, very good chance that Hakeem Williams does commit to Florida State. But this is where that LSU game is important. Florida State, and then James has talked about it, Florida State has to show that improvement if Hakeem Williams is going to commit to Florida State.
I think a lot of people talk about the recruiting of Mike Norvell and Ron Dugans in a light of, I don't care about the labor, show me the baby. They haven't had the results that people will want, and like guys like Portier and stuff like that don't really mean as much to them because they aren't as sexy. And I think I forgot the kid that's from out of Louisiana that I'm starting to believe is a ghost that we signed the 4-star receiver in 2 classes ago. But one thing I've got an opportunity. One of the things that I do in my job, I get an opportunity to chop it up, kind of almost as an OG with some recruits or their people, and I just talk about life and I just talk about the different things. I got a chance to talk to some people in Williams camp, and I mean, they've raved about Mike Norvell and Ron Dugans, and just what they've seen, how they talk to them, and the recruitment. They've done a really, really good job of recruiting. If you had to ask me, this is what I believe it's at right now, August 11th, 2022, because I know people like to come back and say, James, you made a permanent thing. But no, just today, I would say he's going to Florida State or Pitt, then Miami. And Miami fans don't want to hear anything besides, oh, Miami's the greatest. You're not doing anything different than what Manny did with his second year, what Mark Richt did. Heck, Randy Shannon had the #1 recruiting class in the nation when he first came in. And you know what's been consistent with all of those? A lack of winning. So it's not just the money doesn't mean as much as what you guys think. And again, with Ruiz coming into the press the other day saying that he's going to fall back from giving all these NIL contracts because the ROI isn't there, that should let you know that it's false pretenses. But the kid is really about making a decision that's not going to only impact him, the team that is coming in, and those who are coming up behind him. So I think not just Hakeem. If Florida State is able to come out and beat Louisville, if they beat Louisville, they'll sweep the month of September. And what happens then is everybody's put on notice, and you'll have guys like Sampson, who just committed to LSU, guys like Jaylen Brown, who committed to LSU, guys who are not all the way committed. They're committed, but I promise you they're not firm commitments that will probably be looking at and saying, wait a minute, there might be something. I might need to reconsider where I'm going at. And all of a sudden, Florida State's really in a position to start being able to flip and turn some heads when it comes to recruiting.
James, we were Dade County Media Day last Friday, and there are recruits, you've hit the nail on the head, recruits committed to schools like Miami, Florida, recruits committed to schools like Oklahoma, who are seriously looking at Florida State. And that's why you said, and right there, beat LSU first. Absolutely. If we can go out and beat LSU, and then I think what you just said was correct. Our last game before Williams' commitment is Louisville. Miami's last game is Texas A&M on the 17th. I think if we have a better chance, though I did pick us to lose to Louisville, I will admit, but I did pick us to beat LSU, so I think we'll be 2-1 by that point. But his last exposure could be a Florida State win and a Miami loss. Now, like I said, we've talked to several people. He is a 305 guy. He wants to stay in South Florida, but he also, I think you have to look, and you've talked a little bit about before we've talked about on here, it's who is on the up. And if Miami goes out and gets shellacked by Texas A&M, and if Florida State can come in and at least be 2-1 by that point, I think that's what's going to convince him to go to Tallahassee. I think what's also going to convince him is my hot takes. I think that's more importantly what's going to get him between NIL deals, between Mick Adobe 1851. My hot takes, why would you go anywhere else?
We've been running now for 50 minutes. And Jason, to be completely honest, it's been in my mind the entire time. Is Jason going to be able to deliver his hot takes? I didn't know if I threw you a curve and threw you totally off, that you can only deliver the hot takes on Wednesday, that the whole Thursday thing would throw you off. But I'm glad to hear that you're ready to go.
The hot take gets delivered no matter what.
Okay.
I may have put it in the oven, put some tinfoil over it, tinfoil over the paper plate. I gave you your little to-go plate. It's fine. I got you with your hot take. 5 years ago, when I was the editor of a certain blog, chopchat.com, which is still going well, shout out to my man Kelvin Hunt, who's doing very well over there now, I may have written a column saying that Florida State would win the ACC before Texas A&M won the SEC West. I may have been a little hurt by the way Jimbo basically broke up with us before taking the money and heading out to College Station. I stand by my statement. I still think Florida State wins the ACC before Texas A&M wins the SEC West. Now, that being said, I think Texas A&M, is this the season they get the closest? Yes. I think they have a schedule that is very good for them. I think their toughest game is Alabama. That's going to be a hell of a game on October 8th in Tuscaloosa. I think Texas A&M this season, here's my hot take. I think Texas A&M this season goes 11-1, but still doesn't win the SEC West. I think Texas A&M will go 11-1. I think their one loss this season will be to Alabama, and I think Alabama goes undefeated in the regular season. I think Alabama heads to Atlanta. So I'm going to continue with my luck. I think Florida State will win the ACC before Texas A&M wins the SEC West.
Well, you've impressed me in recent weeks with some like serious hot takes that I've validated as this is a serious hot take. You've had some flimsy hot takes. I'm going to give this kind of a mid-range hot take factor.
Sometimes you got to heat it up in the microwave. Sometimes you can warm it up on the grill. Sometimes you cook it up like James did his spring game barbecue. I think sometimes they can't all be winners.
This is a top 10 team to start the season.
It's a top 10 team.
But 11-1 with that schedule in that division, yeah, that's pretty serious.
I think they'll go to the Sugar Bowl. I think they'll represent real well, but I just don't think I think they got lucky against Alabama last year. I think Alabama is still the real deal in the SEC West.
If you ever want to float another bet my way, Jason, I will take the under. You want some action? I'll take Texas A&M 10 and under.
10 wins and under?
Yes, I will take the under on your hot take.
Ooh, that's a little rough there. We'll talk in the coming weeks.
Okay.
We'll discuss it in the coming weeks.
James, looks like you're just about at your destination there.
Yeah, I've been here. I gotta get, but I appreciate you guys and
thank you.
Able to hop on today.
Let's do this again on a Wednesday. Next Wednesday, 6:00. Does that work for you guys?
We'll see how it works into the schedule.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna definitely
Thanks,
try.
James. Appreciate you.
Mark, are you going to go inside next week? That's the question. The fans want to know.
The fans will just have to stay tuned, just like they have to stay tuned for your hot take. They will now have to stay tuned for that.
Here's your tease. Next week's hot take. Who will play in the ACC championship game? I think you know one team. The other team may surprise you. And no, I don't think it's going to be Florida State. Let's calm down.
Well, of course, conventional wisdom is Clemson is about a 90% certainty in the Atlantic. I'm just laying it out there. I'm laying the groundwork, the tease for next week. But NC State is getting consideration. And really, nobody else in the Atlantic is getting consideration. In the Coastal, I would say Miami's getting probably slightly more than Pitt. And then North Carolina is a consideration in the Coastal. But pretty much those are the three.
If you've listened to various weeks of the show, it should be pretty obvious. But we will see who listens next week with Mark Rogers, the voice of college football. That's all I'm saying.
Very nice. Well,
it is dangerous. Stay safe, Mark. Explore with Ben and Sam. Stay safe.
It's a rather comfortable and safe environment, I believe.
I mean, you're in the mean.
I think I'm okay.
You're in the mean streets of suburban Ohio. I mean, God only knows what can happen to you.
Absolutely, I am. Well, Mr. Jason Parker, NBC6, made this happen today. So we did save the show for this week despite some issues yesterday. So we did deliver it. We want everyone to come back, but also bring a friend or two or 5 or 10 next Wednesday at 6 o'clock Eastern.
Now let's start with one. Let's not get greedy. We'll start with one, and then we'll go from there.
Bring some friends with you. Let's hit 200 in the chat next week.
Good.
All right. Jason,
take it easy.
Nap or workout?
It's as we are recording this, it's 4:05. I think we're past the nap time. I think we're just gonna suck it up and work out.
Yeah.
We're gonna work out, and then we're gonna go from there.
All right.
Thank you, South Florida Noel. No love to the fellow South Floridian. Wow, good job, Mark.
I think it's assumed.
Good. I mean, I'm just saying it'd be nice to hear it.
That you always do a good job. He's just recognizing my good job today.
It would be nice to hear it. That's all I'm saying.
Would today be an upper body or lower body day?
No, I'm the old man who just walks. I do my walk.
A lot of walking.
I go with the walks.
That's why our forefathers were so healthy. They had to do a lot of walking.
Didn't they all die when they were in
They
their
died
20s,
early
30s?
because they couldn't cope with diseases. That's why they died.
Stay
They
tuned
ate
next
better
week.
than us. They exercised more than us.
Stay tuned for next week when Mark and I talk more about the science of aging here with Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.